How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is PSReady, my channel all about PlayStation. In today's video, I've got three topics to cover. The first one is that we just got the first major drop of PS5 Pro gameplay, and it looks really good. Second on the list, we're going to talk about how PSSR stands up to DLSS and FSR 3.0, and the results are really good. And third, I was sent a really cool Halloween package for the new Retro Realms game, so I figured I'd open it on camera. So let's jump into this first news story here, which is again all about this first gameplay we've gotten from a huge game that's really hard to run on the PS5 Pro. Not only is it getting new DLC with the Lake House, it's also getting an anniversary update that adds in basically cheats, which is awesome, like unlimited ammo and everything like that. They're adding in gyro aiming, better haptic feedback for the DualSense, like a ton of really cool stuff is coming to that game, which makes it worth playing on its own. But then later on, when the PS5 Pro comes out, it's getting yet another update that's going to make it de facto the best place to play this game specifically, because I played this game on PC back when it came out, and I'm gonna swear, sorry YouTube, it was a mess. It had stuttering, it was hard to hold 60 FPS, it had hitching, it just had all these weird issues. And then on top of that, it uses the Epic Game Store exclusively, and I'm at the point with PC games where if a game's only on Epic, I'm not buying it. It's just totally not worth it. And I understand that it was probably the only way to get the game published, because Epic Games like kind of published this game, like they paid to distribute it, but I don't know, I feel like you should look for other options other than making games Epic exclusive, because it sucks. So with that in mind, I was really excited to see where this game would end up on the PS5 Pro. And the really interesting thing is it's not just giving us a performance mode, it's also giving us a new and improved quality mode. So they're kind of scaling everything up. So what they essentially did is they took the quality mode from the regular PS5 version and made that the performance mode. It runs at pretty much a locked 60 FPS, which is amazing. And then they took features from the PC version that were not in the PS5 or Xbox Series X version, like the amazing ray tracing that this game has, and they put that in the quality mode on the PlayStation 5 Pro. So you're basically bridging the gap between the console version and the PC version. And that performance mode, it now runs at 4K upscaled from 860p. The old version runs at an upscaled 1440p, and it runs much lower than that if you're using the performance mode. So across the board, this game got a huge jump, and I hate to say it, but it really feels like the PS5 Pro was where this game was meant to be played, because out of all the games we've gotten this generation, Alan Wake 2 is one of the very few that actually feels like graphically and just like scale speaking actually push things forward in terms of feeling like a next gen game. And it might have been too much for the regular PS5 Pro at the time, because it's one of those fabled games I love to complain about that runs better on the Xbox Series X than the PS5 from a raw frame rate standpoint, but like graphics wise, they run exactly the same. You just get better performance overall on the Xbox Series X. But now with the PS5 Pro, which just going by the price of that new black spray painted Series X is only $100 more than it, you're getting a much better experience than the competition. So that's good, because we're PlayStation gamers at the end of the day. And they put up a whole blog post that was really interesting, because they went through the whole process they went through to kind of port this game up. They were like, well, do we just run the quality mode with PSSR? Then they did that, and they were like, that's barely noticeable. So they basically use PSSR to be a denoising filter, so it takes every frame and like cleans it up to make it look better. They increased the resolution, they added in the ray tracing for the 30 FPS mode. So it's not just a done and dirty patch where it just unlocks the frame rate and says, hey, when we unlock the frame rate, it runs at 60 FPS and calls it a day. This is like a new version of the game for PS5 Pro, and it's going to be a completely free upgrade, which is awesome. And I've been waiting to replay this game with better performance, and I'm glad I did, because I think this is going to be one of the first games, if not the first game, I play on my PlayStation 5 Pro. And speaking of PSSR, that brings us to the second news story here, which is all about this new upscaling feature. I've been begging for this for a long time. I wanted to see how it compares specifically to FSR, because that's what the PS5 currently uses. And I also was just morbidly curious how it compares to DLSS. Digital Foundry finally got their hands on some games. They did full-on comparisons, and the results are really good. So in terms of the comparison between FSR and PSSR, I mean, it blows FSR out of the water, and that's not really surprising, surprising because FSR is something I talk about a lot on both of my channels, PSReady and DeckReady. It's fine. It's like a good solution for upscaling, but it's not great, and it's been getting worse as time has gone on. I mean, when you move the camera and you see the like fuzziness in the hair, it looks like static. It just like doesn't look very good, and it doesn't really give you that much better frame rate at the end of the day, and it just makes games look like they're being seen through a pair of glasses. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, for example, it's like rough when you're using FSR, and you don't really get a choice unless you play in quality mode. So PSSR, it blows it out of the water, it cleans up the edges, it makes everything look nice, it improves the frame rates more, and it's a good to know that every developer can take advantage of this new feature instead of using FSR, because you'll get better performance, you'll get better looking graphics in performance mode, and that's exactly what we want with the PS5 Pro. But when it comes to DLSS, it seems like on the surface that it's not as good. Like when you compare DLSS to PSSR, DLSS definitely comes out on top, but you got to look at it from the perspective that DLSS is on like generation 3, I think it is. It's like 3.6 at this point. It's 3 generations of graphics cards, because DLSS came out with the 20 series of RTX cards, and they're about to be on the 50 series of RTX cards. So to know that it didn't beat it isn't really that big of a deal to me, but to know that it got extremely close to being on par with DLSS, that's what really matters to me. It's crazy that Sony, with their first run of this, which is going to only improve as time goes on, not only for the PS5 Pro, but leading into the PS6, they're starting out really strong. It's not like PS Plus, where they just threw it out into the wild and said, oh, we'll build it as we go. They are not doing that strategy with this. It is actually a really good piece of upscaling tech that, most importantly, Xbox does not have any way to combat. Unless they're working on their own form of upscaling that might come out with the next Xbox, until the end of this generation, Sony's just got basically the best form of upscaling that you can get on a console. And just like with Alan Wake 2 actually having a full performance mode and then a quality mode with ray tracing, it bridges the gap between PC. Because if you use ray tracing on PC games, you're not like, you have to have an insane rig to be able to get 60 FPS with ray tracing on. You can use frame generation, but I hate that technology because it just makes the games look bad. So yeah, it really is bridging the gap between PC and console. And I think that is just adding on to the pile of stuff we've learned since it was announced with the price of $700 that makes it feel more worth it at the end of the day. So if you're someone who plays in quality mode, or you don't mind the fuzzy graphics in 60 FPS mode, or you don't mind if it goes from 50 to 60, I would say you're good staying with your PS5. But if you're someone like me who plays on PC, plays on PlayStation, plays on Steam Deck, plays on everything, and really pays attention to Digital Foundry and making sure you get the best frame time out of games, I think the PS5 Pro is basically, at this point, just seeing how even third-party games run using the new technology, a necessary upgrade for any gamer, of course, who can afford it because of that insane price. They also looked at Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and like, I get it that it's a really good-looking game. It's like playing a Pixar game, but like, it's the same situation, kind of, not really, as The Last of Us Part 2. I was irritated that they were showing off The Last of Us Part 2 early, because at the end of the day, that's a PS4 game that's being upscaled for the PS5, and then again for the PS5 Pro. It's like, yeah, I would expect the PS5 Pro to be able to make The Last of Us Part 2 look and run amazing, because it's from the last generation. And Ratchet & Clank's different, obviously, because it is a next generation game, but it's not different because it already looked and ran amazing. They had the 30 FPS quality mode with ray tracing, which looked great. Then they had the 60 FPS mode, which is a flawless 60 FPS and has a good internal resolution and really good settings. I mean, this game just scales really well and is optimized. It runs great on the Steam Deck. And then they even have, if you have a 120 hertz monitor or TV, the performance RT mode that splits the difference and runs the game at a locked 40 FPS. And if you've never tried that and you have the capability and you have a game, Ratchet & Clank's a bad example because the 60 FPS mode works, but if you have a game like Alan Wake, where if they added in a 40 FPS mode or something like that, it's something that once you experience it, you'll just be like, oh, I get it. Because even though it's only 10 FPS more than 30, it's the perfect equal distance between 30 and 60 because of the time which it takes to see your frames. Like, the amount of time is split in half between 33 milliseconds and I think like 16 milliseconds is where 60 FPS sits. It's like right in the middle. And after a little bit of messing around with it, it borderline doesn't even feel like you're running it at less than 60. So yeah, it's like a bad example from that perspective because it already looks and runs great and has 3 graphics modes. What I'm really curious about, of course, is games like Black Myth Wukong, which had massive frame drops, games like Rise of the Ronin, which had massive frame drops. We've seen how Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks and runs, which is incredible. All these games that the performance mode doesn't live up, like Space Marine 2, that's what I want want to see on the PS5 Pro. And if you want to see gameplay from some of those games, please let me know in the comments. I do have a PS5 Pro pre-ordered, and if you're still on the fence and want to see how these games run in their new performance modes, I'm happy to show off some gameplay. But anyway, that brings us to the third news story, which is the rare unboxing on this channel. I don't really ask for game codes. Sometimes they show up and I play the games, but my friend Riley is doing all the PR over at Boss Team, I think they're called, the guys who made the new Retro Realms game, or at least produced it, because WayForward are the developers, and he asked me if I wanted a code, and I got it early. This game is awesome. I gotta be honest, I've known about it for a long time. If you've watched my Halloween channel, I actually leaked Retro Realms like 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't even know they were gonna release the two games together because it's Halloween and Ash vs. Evil Dead. And then like I saw the trailer and I was like, all right, it looks okay. Like, it's weird to have a platformer with Michael Myers where you're playing as him running around all the different levels from the movie and just murdering people. But then I saw WayForward made it and I was like, oh, Aliens Infestation, the Mummy Demastered, the Shantae games, they know what they're doing, making like Mega Man style games and Metroidvanias. Maybe it'll be good. I blew through this game in like a night on my Steam Deck, and it runs and looks even better on the PS5. So if you like Halloween and Ash vs. Evil Dead, you basically get the Retro Realms double feature pack, and it's 2 full games. You play through some levels inspired by Ash vs. Evil Dead, you play through some levels inspired by Michael Myers, and then you can also unlock characters. I think you have to pay for them, but you can unlock them. You can unlock Kelly Maxwell from Ash vs. Evil Dead, and of course Laurie Strode from Halloween. Then you can run through the levels as those characters, and once you beat both games, you can then run through either game with Ash in the Halloween game or Michael in the Ash vs. Evil Dead game. So it's actually really cool. And like when you're done with the games, you can use these tickets you find in the levels to unlock props from the movies and walk around an arcade that's like a full 3D space. So it's a lot bigger of a game than I honestly was expecting. And this is all stuff, these are thoughts that I formulated before they sent me stuff, because like I get when people see YouTubers get free stuff and then they have a review that's positive and they're like they're paid for. No, I just was out of town. I was over in Sleepy Hollow over the weekend and I didn't have time to like quote unquote review the game in a video. But those were my thoughts before I got all this stuff, I promise. So first up, we have something that I was gonna buy, and then I was talking to my wife and I was like, I can't buy more dumb shit. I have enough dumb shit and I just shouldn't buy this, but then it showed up, so I'm really happy it did. It's a replica of Ash's chainsaw. I actually made one of these for a Halloween costume, I think in like 2016, out of a milk carton and some cardboard. So getting a prop chainsaw that like you can wear on your hand, it's just badass. I think I'm gonna hang it from my ceiling with fishing line. It makes sounds. I don't have batteries to put in it yet, but it feels like weighty. It's from Trick or Treat Studios, who's a great company. I'm friends with some guys over there. Then we have something that I like have almost bought so many times, and then I'm just like, no, I can't spend $100 on this right now. So I'm really excited. It's the 1/6 scale Trick or Treat Studios Michael Myers. So like it's the Halloween 1 version to match the game. I have a different one that I'll show as B-roll, but he's just wearing different coveralls because I bought an accessory pack for him. And then finally, there's a collector's edition of the game. They actually had 2 of these. I think there was like an Ash version and a Halloween version. It's got the arcade game for Halloween, some good usage of the Michael Myers art, and inside we have some really cool stuff because I opened it to take all the plastic off so you wouldn't hear it rustling around. So I'm not even gonna pretend like, you know, this is a first time unboxing. It's a second time unboxing. So the first thing that's included is this lithograph of the Retro Realms arcade with Michael looming over it. I think it's really cool. It's a nice grab of Michael. I'm definitely gonna frame this and mount it. Next up, I have my 600th Michael Myers pin. It's Michael Myers from Retro Realms. I think it's really cool. This is made by Boss Team Games and Compass International Pictures. Third, we have a steelbook for the game. I got it digitally, so like I don't have a disc, but this is still cool. I'm gonna put it on my game shelf for my physical games, and then people will be like, oh, let me see your Halloween game. And I'll be like, don't look at it. And then they'll open it up and there won't be a disc in there, and they'll know I'm a fake gamer who buys digital physical games, right? Yeah. And then the fourth item is really cool. I've never seen something like, I don't buy a lot of collector's editions, but like I've never seen something like this in a collector's edition. They're like cool Retro Realms coins. They're like gold coins. I'm sure they're not real gold, but they look like they're real gold. And on the one side, they have the Retro Realms arcades. And then on the other side, we've got Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. I think this is cool. I might display this in the shadow box with the lithograph from the game because, you know, it's nice when you get a collector's edition and then you like the game. I really enjoy the game. I think it's like the best Halloween game because the only other option is like Michael Myers in Call of Duty Ghost, Michael Myers in the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and then the Atari game where he's like a little square. So like It's not even like Michael Myers, right? Like, stupid. And then the last item on the list is this plush Michael Myers. I think he's cool. I might like let him sleep with my dog or something because, you know, he'll protect her because she's the best. Her name's Coco. This is sweet. I'm really appreciative of this boss team. If you guys didn't know, before I had PSReady, I did a channel where I covered Halloween news, and it was objectively the biggest horror movie news channel for a very long time, and it was very fun to do. Then like slasher news ran out and I started PSReady and it kind of took off, so I haven't done that in a while. But yeah, guys, that's all I've got for you in this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and set your notifications to all if you haven't already. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.